Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Create Brevity. This is your host, E-Director, and for this week's episode, I want to talk about resistance, what it is and what it is not. And I just want to go into more details about it. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about it, and I just want to clear up some of that stuff for you guys today. So before we get into it, I just want to remind you guys that I do offer one-on-one coaching, and I do have a great blog with more manifesting tips and techniques at www.createbrevity.com. Okay, so here we go. What is resistance? Well, resistance, and this actually may be hard to hear, but resistance is actually you, right? It's us. We are our own resistance. It's like we've talked about before in past podcast episodes where, we've talked about you're not manifesting what you want, you're manifesting what you are, right? So you have essentially resistance is a combination of different things that you're carrying around and different things that you're not allowing to change in your life. Okay, for various reasons. So, manifesting it's a mixture of things, right? It's how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the manifestation. Do you believe that it's possible for you to achieve? And how does the manifestation feel about you? So, for example, if you're working on an SP manifestation, how do you think that person feels about you, right? Do you think it's possible that they care about you, that they could like you, that they could be interested in you? If that's a no, then right, there's resistance there, okay? Or if you just in general feel like it's not possible for you, okay, to have an SP, to get an SP, to get an SP back, okay, then again, that's another form of resistance, okay? So you've got really those three things working for you, right? Or potentially working against you, right? And when you figure out kind of where the resistance is coming from, okay, so for example, we'll go back to the SP manifestation. If you're working on an SP manifestation, but you have a very negative personal belief about yourself and relationships, okay? So regardless of whoever the SP is, regardless of really what your relationship with them is, you just don't feel very good about personal relationships in general. Well, when you feel that and you can pinpoint that that is coming from a negative belief, then you have to start releasing that negative belief, right? You have to start getting to the core of where it's coming from, okay? But essentially, that's what your resistance is. It's you. It's coming from you. I'll break it down another way. If you feel like, oh, my SP just doesn't like me, for whatever reason, maybe honestly, sometimes the circumstances can be very negative. Maybe they've actually told you, they've reiterated it to you, okay? They've told you no, okay? Or if you're manifesting, business relationships, which is a form of a specific person, by the way, and you get rejected, okay? You offer them your business, you offer them your time, and they reject you, okay? For whatever reason. And you start getting it into your head that this person does not like you, okay? Doesn't need your business services, doesn't want you, doesn't think they're qualified. Now you've got a lot of negative beliefs, okay, about them and how they feel about you. Okay, so that's got to be addressed because that's, again, the resistance, right? But the thing is, regardless of what they said to you, okay, you have a choice, okay? You can believe what you want, okay? Because they might have said no to you for that moment, but that moment doesn't define you, and it's certainly not going to be a forever thing, right? So you can choose to look at it that way. That's from a perspective of someone who has good beliefs about themselves, someone who understands conscious manifesting and understands that it's really about energy, okay? However, if you get suckered into that 3D, right, and you really start buying into those negative beliefs, then you start getting more and more resistance to that person, Okay? So it's not really about what they said or what they think. That really doesn't matter. It always comes back to you. You have the option of believing what you choose. You have the option of believing in yourself, essentially. Okay? And if you find that you can't believe in yourself, it's not about changing that person. Okay? It's about changing you. It's about going back to you and seeing, why is it that I just cannot even allow myself to believe that it's possible? I don't even have hope. Okay? And then kind of go from there. Because as you start digging, the answers will come. And essentially, in a nutshell, that's what resistance is. Okay? And I know it's a little bit hard to hear sometimes, because we don't really want to admit that we are sabotaging ourselves, and we don't want to admit that we're really our own worst enemy at times, and that we victimize ourselves. It can be really hard to hear that, and it can be really hard to admit that to yourself. But if you find that you just have a negative relationship with anything in your life, okay, whether it's a specific person, so it's an SP, whether it is money, okay, whether it is career stuff, okay, going outside of yourself and expecting that thing to fix itself, or expecting that thing to come, okay, and make everything okay for you, that's not manifesting. Okay? What manifesting is being okay in your own head with your own feelings, regardless of the outcome. Okay? And it's knowing that you're going to get your manifestation because of that feeling of being okay. That feeling of that everything's going to be all right, because you have made peace with your feelings and your thoughts. And you're aware that they are not defining you, that they don't define your every moment, because they're just kind of passing through you. And that's really what conscious manifesting is about. And that's what releasing resistance allows you to do. Now, understand, guys, that because I know a lot of people, I just did an episode explaining everyone is you pushed out, and a lot of people, again, they're kind of like, well, so I'm pushing out. They have this question about I'm pushing out negative beliefs, so everything's my fault, and they can be really hard on themselves. And here's the thing: yes, you manifest everything in your life, okay? And yes, everything is pushed out based on your negative beliefs about yourself or positive beliefs about yourself, right? However, please don't be hard on yourself. You may have pushed out a lot of things when you weren't aware. If you don't understand what's happening, you can't change your perspective, right? Because you're not giving yourself the option to do that. But now you have the option. Okay, now you are giving yourself a choice. Okay? And a lot of people form some of these negative beliefs in childhood, myself included. I had a deeply negative belief that came from my childhood. If you've been listening to the podcast and past episodes, you'll know what I mean. But yes, I had deep feelings of real anger. I had fear, a lot of fear about specific relationships, and I had a lot of fear about who I was as a person for a long time. And it wasn't that I believed I was a bad person, and it certainly wasn't that I thought I didn't deserve anything, but I thought of myself, whether I realized it or not, because this was ingrained at such an early time. I had this belief I had to do everything myself, and it made me very angry, because I couldn't understand why I was the only person who felt this way. So I was dealing with a lot of anger. It made me very sad, and it made me very lonely at times. I felt separated from people. I felt a barrier, right? And that, however, that limiting belief started when I was a kid. See, I want you guys to be easy on yourselves about some of the stuff that happens to you when you're when you're a little kid, different stories that you build up about who you are when you're a little kid, because you were a child. You really didn't have the control that you do now, okay? And when you're a kid, it's a wonderful time because you're so open-minded and you are so open to life. But unfortunately, sometimes being so open, you can get things that get stuck in there, okay, that aren't supposed to be. And that's not your responsibility because you don't have any freedom to choose. You're stuck in that space, okay? But as an adult, and I find that I think the true work of adulthood, right? It's not just about getting a job. It's not just about making a lot of money. It's not just about success, however you define success. You know, for me, I find that the true work of it is to show up for myself every single day. And what do I mean by that? When you start releasing some of this resistance, when you start getting to the bottom of your feelings and your emotions, you understand that although it is not your fault that some of these things are in your life, and it's not your fault some of the things that happened, you do have to take care of them from now on because they're negatively impacting your life today. And unfortunately, we can't do anything about, you can't, go back into the past and shake yourself, right? But what you can do is you can let go of it for today, because you have to understand that you can't have any control over anyone else. You can only control you. And that's been a very difficult at times lesson to learn. But I like to think of it as my life's work, is to unlearn some of the negative things that I learned in childhood, accidentally or otherwise. And it's to embrace showing up for myself every day. Okay? And so there are some days that are harder than most. But I also recognize that I have to show up for myself because I'm the only person that I can count on for this work. And I don't mean that as in, oh, you have to do everything yourself. That's not what I mean. That's a twisted form of that statement and that argument. What I mean about showing up for yourself and knowing that you're the only person that can do it is that as much as you love your SP, as much as you love your family and your friends, you're not going to spend 24/7, 365 with them, okay? You're in your own head. You're with your feelings all day, every day. And if you don't love yourself and you don't treat yourself kindly and you don't allow yourself, okay, some breathing room, okay, and you don't do the things that allow you to be at your peak, okay, whether that's letting go of resistance, whether that's, exercising, okay, whatever makes you happy, right? That just showing up for yourself, allowing yourself to breathe. If you don't do that, you're not going to let that be reflected back to you by other people, because other people aren't going to see it in you, okay? And therefore they can't mirror it back. So that's kind of bringing it back to everyone as you pushed out, right? If you're pushing out resistance, that's all they're going to mirror back to you, okay? So understand that it is you, ironically, by taking control of yourself, okay, and letting go of control of everyone else, okay, letting go of all of that, and just controlling where everything comes from, which is from you, okay, getting a real hold of whatever is going on with you, okay, your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, right, understanding where they're coming from, okay, and understanding that they don't mean as much as you think. They're not meaningless, okay? But they're not life-defining things, okay? And practicing this over and over again until you can get some self-awareness, okay? To where it does become easier, okay? And sometimes for me, I get on a roll where I'm really releasing, and it feels great. Okay, you guys, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Venting is kind of similar to that, okay? when you're just getting that off your chest, you're talking with a close friend or a family member, and you're just on a roll and you're just getting everything off your chest, it feels good. Because whether you like it or not, okay, whether you want to admit it to yourself or not, when you have a lot of resistance, you're walking around with like a bunch of bricks on your back, okay, like emotional bricks, okay? And when you allow yourself, venting, when you allow yourself to just sit with your feelings, okay, and get to the root of them and try to really take the zing out of them, okay, you're unpacking some bricks. Maybe you won't unpack all of them at one time, okay, but little by little, okay, or chunk by chunk, they go off your back, and you're going to start to feel better, right? And by the way, venting is not wallowing in this. Venting is just like getting it out there, right? It's having that flash. It's letting that feeling exist, okay? Right? So you're acknowledging it, but you're not living there, right? Living in that feeling is wallowing, okay? So there is a difference, just so you guys know, don't get it twisted, okay? But you're going to unpack that and it's going to feel great. It's actually going to start to feel good. I sometimes, when I get into that zone where I'm just releasing, I'm almost excited because it's like, yes, I'm unpacking all these bricks off my back. I'm throwing them down, and it's going to feel so good in a couple of minutes, okay? But please don't be hard on yourself. When I first started working on my resistance, it had been so long since I had really allowed my feelings to be there and exist exactly as they are. I had a real issue with trying to constantly match my energy to other people. So I could allow myself to have a feeling, but only if it was palatable to the people around me, and I could only express my feelings in a way that was palatable to people around me, because I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to feel like I was the only one responding a certain way. I had never given myself permission to just be myself and to just have my feelings and to just accept that I have feelings, okay? I had never given myself that permission. It was a luxury I didn't allow myself because I was scared of my feelings, They were scary, probably because I had so many of them. And I had so many of them because I didn't release any of them, right? But when I started really doing this, at first it was a little bit unsettling because I felt like I didn't know what was happening. I felt a little bit off balance. I didn't like the fact that I was expressing my feelings because, again, I was so used to not doing that I didn't really understand what was happening. And it took me, some practice. I had to keep going at it. But I realized that I was so uncomfortable because I was leveling up. I was becoming a different person on the inside. Emotionally, I am such a different person than I was even a month ago, right? Because I just keep letting go of more resistance. Even a year ago, 5 years ago, okay? Things that used to trigger me, they don't trigger me anymore, or the emotional impact of them has lessened greatly, okay? And I like living in that space, so I keep releasing. And the reason why I tell you this is I don't want it to scare you off. When you first start working on your resistance, okay, it might scare you off because you're kind of like, oh, I don't like this feeling. It makes me uncomfortable. I feel like things are getting stirred up. And when I'm telling you, lean in if you can, okay? You don't have to do it for the whole day, right? You don't have to do it for an hour even. But if you can just lean into that for a couple of minutes, okay, and let yourself start getting used to being uncomfortable, because a lot of this stuff, it was uncomfortable to begin with. Otherwise, you would have unpacked it a long time ago, right? If it was super, super easy and felt great, you would have gotten rid of it a long time ago. The reason why you have so much of it and the reason why it's really uncomfortable now is because you never really did it in the first place, right? So, and again, because it's built up, cut yourself some slack. It didn't take a day for all of this to build up, so it's not going to take a day to unpack for some of you guys, okay? It certainly wasn't the case with me. It took a while, okay? I had to really sit with it, release. Sometimes things would come up again. I would sit with it and I would release. And sometimes I would feel terrible for myself, really feeling bad for myself, because I'm just kind of like, I thought I released all these things. Why are they coming back up? You know? And of course, that's when you know you're in that victim mode, okay? And you're not dealing with your resistance. That's when you know you're wallowing. So you get back on the horse, so to speak, and you work at it again. But I want to tell you guys, just don't be scared off, okay? The fact that you're feeling things and the fact that you're being vulnerable is good. It's a great thing. It means you're changing. Something's working, okay? And I know some of you guys get really scared because, you have these specific goals. You have these wonderful manifestations that you're trying to achieve. And I know you're kind of like, if I feel bad, if I feel negative feelings, okay, if I go too much into my resistance, that means it's not going to work out for me. I'm here to tell you that these fleeting moments where you're really dealing with it, okay, that let's say you spend an hour and just really allow yourself to get rid of some of that gunk, okay, that is going to do wonders for you, okay, in terms of your manifestation. Because I don't think some of you guys realize that when you have this heaviness on your chest and on your back, those bricks, you feel them every second of the day. That's actually what's getting manifested, right? That resistance, it's always there, whether or not you are looking away from it and pretending, desperately trying not to look at it or not, okay? The lack, right? That non-abundant feeling, that non-neutral feeling that you're carrying around with you, okay? That hair's breadth away from popping off, that easily triggered feeling is always with you. So that needs to get diffused. So don't worry about the time that you spend diffusing it, okay? In the long run, it's going to work out better for you. You're going to feel better while you're manifesting, okay? It's going to be easier for you to manifest in the long run. So I don't want you guys to get scared off by that either, okay? It's not pushing your manifestation back, okay, at all. If you subscribe to Neville Goddard or some of the other people, he thinks of your manifestations as a prayer to God. So, and if you're not religious, that's okay. I personally am. So I like to think of it as a prayer. And I like to think that after I've prayed and I've had that moment, it is done. It's settled, okay? Now I just need to go work on myself, right? I need to keep that line of communication clear, like that direct channel to your manifestation. I'm just clearing it, right? There might be some bushes, some overgrown weeds, okay? And I'm just kind of clearing the way, okay? So it doesn't stop, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many people who have also been manifesting for a long time, who are very knowledgeable on this topic, and whose opinions I trust, it doesn't stop your manifestation, right? And I'm genuinely honest when I tell you that from my experience, it has not. If anything, like I said, it has made it easier for me, and it's just made the process more enjoyable, right? And what I can guarantee as well, and I can guarantee this, is that I think people find conscious manifesting, they get a life coach for the specific thing that they're after, and what they find, if they are really leaning into this and they are treating it like it's a lifestyle, what you find is inner peace. And that is so much better in some ways than the actual manifestation. I'm not saying you're not going to get the manifestation. And I'm not saying that your manifestation isn't amazing and it's not worth it. Of course not, right? But what you find is that you had everything you ever needed. You really didn't need anything else, right? Because you're already done, right? It was just you telling yourself that you needed things, telling yourself that you weren't good enough, right? That was it, right? That was the resistance. And once you learn how to deal with that, once you learn how to stop doing that, okay? And when you allow yourself to admit to yourself that you're amazing, you can get whatever you want, no one else needs to tell you that, okay? When you can get to that point, like I said, you get that inner peace, and it's kind of like, well, the manifestation's kind of like a cherry. The cake and the frosting and all the yummy stuff, okay, is already set. And then you have your manifestation on top, like a little topping, okay, like a garnish almost. And I think that's truly what keeps people manifesting. Yes, we love getting the specific things that we want, and it's a wonderful feeling that things start to work out. But that feeling of just being neutral and being able to work with your feelings and your emotions, I think that's why people stay. So I genuinely hope that you guys will stick with it, that you can see your resistance for what it is, which is just you holding yourself back, okay? And then I hope you'll get to experience some of this, some inner peace, some of this neutrality, okay? And you can really take some of those bricks off your back, and you can start paving the way for that direct access to your manifestation. And I know it's hard in the beginning, trust me, but it is worth it. And I implore you, to stick with it. I believe that everyone listening to this podcast can do it. The fact that you're listening, that you've sought this out, okay, I think says tons about where you guys are on your journey. And I just, yeah, I hope you'll listen to this and you'll get a little bit of an oomph in your day. Hopefully it lightens your step a little bit. And I genuinely hope that you won't give up on yourself, okay? Just always remember that whether you want to admit it to yourself or not, you are the only thing standing in your way, okay? And once you really let that sink in and you start getting rid of that, nothing can stand in your way, because you're an amazing, perfect person already, okay? I hope this helps, guys. Love and light. And if you get a chance to check out the website, www.createbrevity.com. Thank you for listening.